The following audio may contain the personal testimonials of some OPTAVIA coaches or clients of OPTAVIA. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the OPTAVIA team.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. Hello, hello. Hey there, let us know in the chat where you're from. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're excited about this call. You're gonna learn so much great stuff tonight. Excellent. Alaska, California, Ohio, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania. Awesome. Texas, New York. Wow, awesome. I love watching all those come in. Super fun. Anyone from Michigan? That's where I'm from, currently in the ATL. Ohio, Colorado. Everyone's representing. Lived in North Carolina too. Awesome. Very good. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We are excited to share this awesome topic for you, and I want to take a second and introduce myself. My name is Nicole Deward. I am a certified health coach with OPTAVIA, as well as a certified personal trainer with the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and I have been a wellness director for about 6 years of a wellness center here in a suburb of Atlanta called Marietta, and super excited to share with you all tonight. The science of OPTAVIA is really my passion and my heart, and so I can't wait to share about this awesome topic of how to burn calories without exercise, and I'm sure that's why you've all logged on tonight. But before I get started, I want to go ahead and introduce my co-host and my guest tonight, Donni Alvarenga. Donni, would you share a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Nicole. My name is Donni Alvarenga, as you mentioned, and I am a certified health coach with OPTAVIA, and I am also a nurse practitioner. And what I love about OPTAVIA is that after all of the schooling that I went through, OPTAVIA made getting healthy simple. And so there are so many things that we think we have to do, and what OPTAVIA did is it just brought it down to real life, so that no matter what kind of crazy life we lead, whatever kind of busy we have, it just makes it fit right in. And I'm excited to chat a little bit about this with you today.
So awesome. Thanks, Donni. I'm excited that we can do this together as health professionals that come from a little bit of different perspective, but Donni and I are just like you. I was raised in an obese home, didn't really know how I was going to make all of this work in my life after having 4 kids. I found that my mom tried lots of different things with to no avail. Lots of exercise. I saw my mom eat carrots and apples most of my life. Didn't understand why she had this issue with being overweight. And I'm happy to tell you my mom was my very first client. I'm a very proud daughter, and I know Donni has an awesome story as well that we weave in as we chat and as we share, because that's who we are as OPTAVIA coaches. We not only talk the talk, but we walk the walk. So we want to make sure you get a good gist of that from us tonight as well. Feel free to pop some questions in the chat so that we can answer some things that are going on for you or that you may have about us and the things that we're talking about. So without further ado, we're going to get started talking about how you can burn calories without specific types of exercise. Anyone want to know how to do that? Because let's face it, here we are around the holidays, and lots of people are having a rough time trying to figure out how to fit everything in. So between going to the holiday parties and wrapping gifts and spending time with family, I know that my kids have finals this week, right? They're off school come Friday, but we've got lots of studying going on, so much circling around, and yet what's important is that we make sure that we take care of ourselves. So when you take care of you, so much easier for you to take care of everyone else. I hear a lot of people getting the flu right now, lots of sickness going on. And let me tell you, there is a huge correlation between sickness around the holidays because of the amount of sugar consumption. Sugar lowers your immune system so much. So I implore all of you, and as a reminder to myself, to make sure we make good choices around the holiday. Because what happens is we begin to get really lax. There's a lot going on, we have a little less structure, lots of days off, lots of family time, and we begin to make concessions. I call concessions maybe an excuse, or maybe we justify, and those justifications turn into a lot of sickness because our bodies just don't handle that type of consumption well when we overindulge, especially with sugar. So tonight we're going to discuss this idea of non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So that can sound like a really big word, but Donnie and I are here to break it down into 6 great S's, okay? So Dr. Anderson, who is our fearless leader, amazing man that started this mission for us so many years ago and wrote an amazing book called The Habits of Health, which I hope most of you have at least by your bedside or on your coffee table so that you can reference this at all times. It's not the kind of book that you read one time. It's something that you want to go back to over and over again to get some more fuel. The fuel that goes up here is really what moves your life forward long term. It's not about a one and done. It's not like I read this and then I get a lot of people that say, oh, I already knew that. I already knew that. And I say, well, knowing it and actually doing it are a little bit different. So we want to make sure that we consistently put that information in so that we actually live it out. All right. So with non-exercise activity thermogenesis, what we're going to be talking about tonight are 6 ways that all start with an S with a cute little twist for you. In that while we do these things, we can burn calories without having a set place in our schedule to do exercise. Now, I hope I mentioned I'm a personal trainer, so I am not here to tell you that exercise is not important. However, what we are going to be discussing tonight are ways that you can implement these types of activities into your schedule so that you can be mindful of burning calories without the structure in your calendar of exercise. But we're going to step back and do a little bit of science around how the body burns calories. So we have what's called a resting metabolic rate, which means when you lay in your bed, if you had the maybe privilege of laying in your bed for 24 hours, you would burn a set amount of calories. Okay, we call that your resting metabolic rate. It's what your body is required to function. It requires that amount of burn and energy just to run your body at rest. Okay, then we have what's called activity calories, or what I affectionately call those as you being you in the world. So you have certain amount of calories that you being you in the world, because most of us don't lay in a bed for 24 hours. So you being you in the world burns a certain amount of calories, and that's roughly anywhere from maybe 100 to 400 calories, depending on how active you are in your daily life and maybe how big you are, because you're going to burn some more calories the more mass you have, right? And then we have these calories called exercise calories, and those are going to be the planned calories that you burn from cardiovascular exercise and resistance training, flexibility. All of those types of things are going to burn calories specifically from planned exercise. And it is recommended that you get 210 minutes of exercise a week, which easily breaks down to 30 minutes a day. Okay, so for our topic for tonight, we're going to move back to the you being you in the world calories. All right, y'all with me? I hope you're excited about this. We're going to start with sit straight. Sit straight. It's so important. How many people do we see slouching back in their chair, right? Folding in their arms, or you see this, people driving like this, they're like leaned back, lounging around while they're driving. This is not safe, all right? Hands at 10 and 2, people, right? Got to have hands at 10 and 2, elbows slightly bent, resting near us so that your seat is close enough to be alert, right? Sitting straight is all about having alertness in our core. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to have better posture while you're seated, okay? So if you're all seated right now, I'm going to encourage you to do this little exercise. I'm actually standing while I talk, but Donnie is sitting, so she's going to show you while. Here we go. So we're going to sit on the edge of your seat. This is my first tip for you. Make sure you sit on the edge of your seat so that your knees are directly over your ankles. That's a hard one. If you look around, now that I've said this, you're going to notice yourself and others that tuck their feet way under their body while they're seated, right? Or they take their legs and switch them off to one side, or they sit back and then cross their legs, okay? The best way to have great posture and to burn the most calories at rest is to sit forward on your seat, to lift up nice and tall. We like to say hearts forward. What that does is that lifts up your chest. One other cue would be to not have any wrinkles in your shirt. So if you were sitting straight, you would not have wrinkles in your shirt, and you can do this while you're standing as well. So if you've got wrinkles, you know you're slouched, okay? So you sit up nice and tall, belly button to spine. You're making sure those knees are directly over those ankles. Feet are shoulder width apart, okay? Feet shoulder width apart, knees directly over the ankles, sitting on the edge of our seat, and you're gonna roll those shoulders up, back, and down. So our chest is nice and forward, belly button tucked in. This is called sitting straight. Now I'm gonna add one more little cue. At any given time, if somebody happened to maybe be teasing and come around and punch you right in the belly, that it would hit it like a rock, right? Because your core is tight. So when your core is active and braced, that is where you're gonna burn the most calories because your posture is nice and strong and solid. So we're gonna move from sitting straight to standing firm. Donnie?
Yes, and I did try to sit here at the edge of my chair as you stand, so I'm going to allow you to demonstrate the standing for us as I talk a little bit about standing firm. And this is the thing, is that just the act of going from a sitting position to a standing position burns more calories. And this is you being you in your world, just as you talked about. I mean, a lot of us sit for long periods of time during the day. And so by doing what Nicole was talking about, you're going to be burning calories just sitting there. But now this is the next step. Stand up. And there's many, many ways that you can kind of incorporate the standing into your life. But what is it about standing that affects our health? Sitting has actually been called the new smoking. It actually is killing more people than HIV. Because what happens is just 30 minutes sitting down slows down our metabolism. It makes it harder for our body to process the dangerous fats that we want to process. It turns off the muscles in our lower body. And this is what's pretty awesome, is just standing for 5 minutes kicks everything back into gear. Just 5 minutes. So no matter what you're doing at work or at home, how difficult is it for you to just stand and be you in your world, right? So if you're at work, maybe you can get some earbuds or, headsets if you're on the phone, and stand up while you're on the phone. When you're at home, you can be walking around the house if you're on the phone. Or if you're watching TV, I mean, a lot of us just sit and lounge. We're not sitting up straight when we're watching TV, but you can also stand for that. But just remember that just the act of standing, and if you kind of think of how many times you're going from a sitting to a standing position, that in and of itself ups the calorie burn, and it doesn't require any extra time.
That's right.
So Nicole, do you want to tell us about the next one?
That's right. So our next S that we're going to discuss is stroll often. A lot of people love to walk. They love to get up and move. And sometimes what we find is that it's a great thing to do a lot of walking, but the number one thing we want to make sure is to make sure we have the adequate footwear, okay? Because going out for a long walk in a bad pair of shoes, with so many people struggling with bad knees and hips and ankles, it is imperative to make sure you have a good pair of shoes. If you haven't changed your shoes in 6 months to a year, guess what? It's time. So go to your local store, go ahead and get fitted. What I see as a personal trainer is that most people have a lot of pronation issues. Pronation means that they roll to the inside of their foot and push off their big toe. this typically causes what we know to be called as bunions, and those bunions can be pretty uncomfortable. But what I will tell you is with a great pair of shoes, it helps to lift the arch so there's not a lot of foot flattening. Yes, somebody's mentioning having inserts in their shoes. That is a great way to make sure that we're seated, that we're standing appropriately. And I would definitely recommend looking into some glute strengthening exercises. This helps the walking function go so much better to get the most bang for your buck. Not only is it good to get out for just a nice brisk walk, it helps to relieve stress. Going out for a walk also helps us to be able to we have David, we've got a lot going on in our area here, buddy, if you can help us out with that. So when our glutes are firing and everything is, when we have an adequate pair of shoes, then we're much more able to go longer distance. When we are doing our stroll often, we burn a lot more calories when we are moving, especially when we can park further from the grocery store, right? So many people are vying for those close spots, and really just park far away, because then you can just get your steps in. A lot of people wear a Fitbit or the little fancy Apple things. I'm not an Apple girl, so I don't even know really what those are called. Apple Watch, I guess. But you can always keep track of what you're doing to make sure that you are getting anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day. Set your own goals and try and beat them. I've known, we have our staircase in the center of our house, and when we were really into Fitbits, one, I won't mention who did this in my family, took their Fitbit and just flapped it around like this, back and forth to get their steps. But others of us actually went around and around our house. We kind of have a track, because the staircase is in the middle, where we just made laps until we got the steps that we committed to that day. And that's really what's important. Set yourself a goal and do what it takes to meet it. And then you'll burn all the calories that you want to burn in the day just from strolling more often. If you have a dog, go walk your dog. Get out, take 5-10 minutes, get some fresh air, because it really will help you in terms of burning more calories without necessarily planned exercise. So another thing that's not planned is a little bit of dancing. Donnie, would you tell us about that?
This is definitely my favorite of the different non-neat points, if you will, because it is honestly the most fun. And it just starts with turning on some music. I would love for you to put into the chat what kind of music you like to listen to, because this is the deal, is that just turning on the music ups our calorie burn. It's only like a calorie a minute when you're listening to an up-tempo music, but hello, it's a calorie a minute, and it's fun. And this is the other thing, okay, is that I challenge you to turn on some music and not move. It's like hard to just sit there. So what is it that ups your calorie burn when you're just listening to music without moving? Well, actually what happens is that your heart starts beating faster, because you're enjoying yourself. Just because you're enjoying yourself, your heart beats faster, and therefore you burn more calories. But then you've got the added benefit that you can't sit still. Your body will want to move. And just by bopping your head, you're going to burn a couple more calories because you're moving and you're using those muscles. But not only that, okay, listening to music while you exercise, I'm sure you can add to this, Nicole, but really listening to music while you exercise, it actually gets inside your head. And it all begins and ends between the ears. Just as you were talking about, Nicole, it's what we fuel our mind, right? That kind of gets us going. And when it comes to the music that we listen to, what it does is it ups our performance, both physically and mentally. It makes us feel like we can do more. And so what that does is that you do more if you're doing any kind of physical activity. If you are exercising, I know that here we're talking about the non-exercise activity, but what I'm saying is that if you are going to hit the gym, turn on the music, because that's going to just make you go longer and perform better. But you know, there's been research that has proven that whole little body performance bit when it comes to music. And they research people that have Parkinson's. And for those of you that don't know Parkinson's, those with Parkinson's, they have issues with tremors. And sometimes that affects their coordination and their gait. And they've noticed that those with Parkinson's that are having trouble walking, just by turning on the music, it smooths their gait and it makes it more even. And so what that simply tells us is that there's a huge connection between the music we listen to, what we're listening to, right, and our body's performance. Once again, try to listen to music and not move, right? You're gonna move. You're gonna move. So one of the things that I love to do, I'm actually in a season of purging at my house and doing some winter cleaning, if you will. And so I'll turn on some Christmas music and go about my day. And as I'm dusting, as I'm packing boxes, you better believe that my head is going. And even though it's called samba shake and I am Brazilian and I should be able to samba, that doesn't happen at my house, but I am moving. No matter how awkward it is, it's fun. It's fun. So just turn on the music. Even when you're sitting in the car, listen to the music, your head's gonna go. When you're at home, let it go. Just let it go. Dance with your broom. Dance with your dishes, dance with your kids, because you will burn anywhere between 3 and 5 calories per minute for every minute of you just having fun, just you being you in your life.
I love it.
Awesome
I love it. There's some requests for you to demonstrate. You would like to show them a little shaky.
Right.
Awesome. Well, we're going to move on to our number 5, which is Stairmaster. Now, Stairmaster can mean a whole lot of things. You can be master of the stairs. You could be on a Stairmaster. But I'm going to talk tonight about taking the stairs, because we live, let's face it, we live in an escalator kind of world, right? And what I mean by that is that we want to take the easy way. And the reason why is because, man, we're tired. There's a lot going on in our life. And so when we have the option to take the elevator or the escalator, you better believe it. I remember when my kids were little, we lived near a mall, and that's all they wanted to do was to go to the mall and ride the escalator. And let me tell you, it was like the cheapest thing, because you could go and do that for free. Up and down we went, up and down the escalator. But now I know better. They need to get out their energy and take the stairs themselves. So when we choose to take the stairs, what we are doing is we're not only are we burning more calories, but we're challenging our mind. There's actually a lot of balance required when you take the stairs. Again, a lot of my clients have issues with their knees. And I want to tell you a little tip for tonight is that most often, if you have issues with your knees, now I'm not talking to ACL tears and meniscus issues and things like that, but if you generally have some achiness or tenderness in the knees, or when you take the stairs specifically, it often is because you have trigger points in your thigh muscle, which is called your quadricep. So take a look at the center of your quad muscle. If you actually take your hand, put it straight down on your leg, your middle finger touches the center of your quad muscle, okay? And you can check that for trigger points. And if you have like a foam roller or something to roll, or you can't really stretch, you can do a standing quadricep stretch by reaching back behind to grabbing your foot to stretch. I always recommend, if you're going to do a static stretch, to make sure that your body is warm first. So a great idea is to do a little samba shake, right? To get your blood pumping so that you're ready to do a little stretch. But if you have issues, yes, somebody's bringing up myofascial release. That's what I'm talking about. When your hand reaches down and touches that, the middle finger touches the center of your front of your leg, that's a trigger point for the belly of your quadricep muscle, which if you can get that out, most often your knees will feel so much better. So you're welcome. This helps so many of my clients, so I'm happy to share that with you tonight. But in general, the other thing about taking the stairs, not only does obviously taking the stairs burn more calories, because stairs are on an incline. And I don't know about you, but if you've ever put a treadmill on an incline, that is really going to tax, right, your cardiovascular system. If you're walking outside and you see a little bit of a hill coming, your heart automatically is like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to make it up this hill. So you can have real steep hills, or you can have those long forever hills that it's like just a really slight incline, but you are forever on it. And you especially feel this if you're on a bike ever. But going up on an incline is always going to increase your cardiovascular health. So it's really good for you to take the stairs. A lot of people have stairs in their homes. It is a really excellent way to warm up your body. Most of us don't stretch enough. So I will tell you, one of the very best things that you can do at your home, especially through the winter, is to take, set your timer for 10 minutes. Or like Donnie mentioned, you could even put a couple songs that you really love on your phone, put your earbuds in, listen to 2 or 3 songs. That's 5 to 15 minutes of exercise where you're just walking up and down your stairs, and then spend 10 to 15 minutes stretching. We definitely don't want to stretch when the body is cold. So make sure that you're giving yourself some adequate time to get your heart pumping so that you can stretch. But take the stairs, because you're going to burn a lot more calories that way than taking the elevator. All right. So our last S for tonight is called Switch It. Donnie?
Yes. There are so many different gadgets that we now own that make life so much easier for us. And most of us are so pressed for time in our lives that we appreciate these gadgets. But the truth is that every movement that we engage in is good for us. Mm-hmm. And what these gadgets end up doing is that they rob us of that movement. And so I would love for people to share into the chat what kind of gadgets you use at home in your kitchen. Let's just think about the kitchen, okay? So the first time that I made cauliflower pizza, I actually grated it by hand. And that took me forever. But guess what? I burned some calories. I do have this gadget in my kitchen called a food processor that I completely forgot I had. And that just ended up working in my favor. That episode was not intentional. But what we're talking about with Switch It is to be intentional. And that's really what we're talking about with non-exercise activity thermogenesis, is to be intentional about incorporating more activity into your day. And so something as simple as opening a can, right? Using the manual one versus the little machine, you just put it in and it goes zzz, and it's done, right? So by just using the manual can opener, right there, you're burning a couple calories. And really, if you're not going to make the cauliflower pizza, how much longer is it really going to take for you to use your hands, right? Another thing was, it was a blessing at my house. My dishwasher broke and I had to wash dishes by hand. Imagine that. I had to wash dishes by hand, and come to find out, I actually enjoy washing dishes. And so now that my dishwasher works, I still wash my dishes by hand. That takes me just an extra couple minutes, and that's a little bit extra motion. And we're not talking about burning 500 calories because you're washing your dishes, but these little calories add up. Mm-hmm. If you burn an extra 5 calories every single day, at the end of the week, that's 30. At the end of the week, at the end of the year, that adds up to pounds. And whether we're trying to lose weight or maintain weight, it's all about that energy balance. And more often than not, we underestimate how many calories we're consuming, right? So by incorporating these very intentional activities into our everyday, we're able to make the balance.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Thank you, Donnie. That is such great information. I'm going to go ahead and go through 1 through 6 just to make sure that everyone has them down. Number 1 is sit straight. Number 2 was stand firm. Number 3, stroll often. Number 4, samba shake. Number 5, Stairmaster. And number 6, switch it. So I'm sure in any of these successes that you found some really good nuggets to make some changes in your life. The Habits of Health is all about changing doing our change, getting one healthy habit at a time, right? Because if you take on everything all at one time, it feels very overwhelming. And so what we hope to do every week is bring to you these topics that will help inspire you, right? To move forward, to take something from these talks that help you think about, gosh, that would be one small change that I can make. And these small changes will lead to more. And then as they lead to more, that's what's called lifelong transformation. So we are so honored to walk alongside so many people. I know there were a lot of questions in the chat, specifically around exercise and the 5 and 1, because what happens in our mindset is sometimes that we we have this idea that if we begin to incorporate things that are too much, then it is counterintuitive or counterproductive to what we're trying to do. And what we do know is to make sure that you take a look at our OPTAVIA guide. There is lots of great information if you are on any of our plans to check the OPTAVIA guide, because our exercise can happen up to 45 minutes on our 5-in-1 plan. But what we're talking about tonight is that these are things that you can do all the time, no matter what plan you're on. All numbers to add up to 6, right? Whether you're 5-in-1, 4-in-2, or you're eating 3 meals and 3 snacks, this is the way that we keep our blood sugar stable. We incorporate our healthy exercise and our neat points like we're talking about tonight, as well as making sure we're getting our water and sleep and all the great habits that we talk about on these calls. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have had a blast. Donnie, thank you so much for joining me tonight on this call. It was awesome to work together and to inspire these amazing people. We look forward to seeing you again on more, and thank you so much for joining us.
This audio may have contained the personal testimonials of some OPTAVIA coaches or clients of OPTAVIA. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified, and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the OPTAVIA team.